Hello and welcome back to another Backflip Happy Hour. I'm Ryan Frank, co-creative director here at Backflip, and John is not here. So no witty rapport or repartee or anything like that right now. But we'll say we've got two special hosts today. I'm going to bring them on. We've got Emily and Hannah joining us today as maybe special hosts. How's that sound, guys?
Sounds great.
Yeah, so we like to start off the top of the show with what we're drinking. So I think I was showing you guys earlier. This is a happy hour. This is an espresso. Look at this is like a bespoke glass that we just got, which is kind of silly but fun. Then you can really see, you can get that frothy Nespresso goodness. Carolyn's.
How's that sound, guys? Good.
Carolyn.
This is like a bespoke glass that we just got, which is kind of silly but fun.
Oh, I think I'm hearing
really
somebody's feedback.
Get that.
I'm getting feedback from you, Hannah. We're good now, I think. I muted you. You'll have to unmute yourself or go headphones. All right. This is starting off quite well. I've got this Nespresso, and of course, I've got a little bit of Terramana in this glass right here. Since you're the only one on right now, what do you got, Emily?
I have a tall glass of water here to keep me hydrated on this Friday afternoon.
Straight vodka. That's amazing. You're a champ. Let's see. And Hannah, are you back?
I'm back. I
All
can
right.
hear you guys. I think we're good.
Awesome. So Hannah might have to jump out and in for whatever reason. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi in the front there. But what are you drinking right now, Hannah?
I'm drinking the Carbon 4 Mango Seltzer today.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. For those who don't know, Emily is our developer and Hannah is our designer here. Yeah, anything else you guys want to say as a short way of introduction before we bring our guest on?
Nope, I'm good.
Great. I know Carolyn can barely contain herself, so let's bring her in here. This is like all the happy hour people who watch. So we have like our entire audience right here.
It's just funny because like they're so quiet, like compared to John. I feel like John is just always like willing to just spitball something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both like, no, I'm good. We're good.
Yeah. All right. New direction. So welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Yeah. How's it going?
Great. It was a busy week. It's nice to finish in a very relaxing way like this. So perfect.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to provide a nice, relaxing way for you to finish your week. What are you drinking?
The Pax Vobiscum from Carbon 4, designed by Hannah, which we were just talking about before we started here. And it was my first time trying this, so I brought this from home because it was a special day, and so I wanted to have something special to drink. So got the Carbon 4 glass, and we're good to go.
That's super legit. I love it. Can you hold that up again, too? Can we take a look at that?
You got that? It's a lovely color. Also, we got that.
She got her coaster.
Got my coaster.
You got your swag, yeah.
For all those people who participate in the comments, you get a coaster.
That's right.
And other things. I got other things, too.
It's not a farce.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we doing today? We're talking about, we just launched a big, awesome website with you, a big redesign. And that's why we have the rest of the team on here. We've got Emily and Hannah. Tell us what we all did.
Well, it started in this room here. We started with a little brainstorming session.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, this was back in April, I think. We got going on this. So we met and we were talking about who is the audience of San Ambrose Academy, what is the website for, and what are people looking for? What are their needs? How can we help solve them? And we had a kind of internal team from St. Ambrose. So Joan Carey, who's our executive director, Angela Heinlein, who is the director of enrollment, and then Joe Draves, who is the development director, and then myself. So we had that internal team that was helping steer everything, and it was a good representative sampling of the community of St. Ambrose. You have parent representation, kind of board representation, founding family representation, and then Angela, who is also really focused on those new prospective families and what they're looking for. So it was really, really good. And then benefactors, of course. So we had a great team that was kind of brainstorming and pulling together, and then you guys were able to guide us in that process, which was very fruitful. And I think it was a good educational experience too for the St. Ambrose team about how you can present yourself, because every one of those people knows good things about how to present the organization, but then you have other people like you who do this for a living. You work with so many clients. so many kinds of clients too, that what are lessons that we could take from your experience. So that was kind of where everything got started. And then we built a website over the past 4 months.
And then it just kind of happened. Yeah. Is that Hannah and Emily? Is that how you guys remember it?
Yeah.
Yes. It was actually a really fun process because I feel like the whole St. Ambrose team really knew what they were looking for. And they were maybe a little bit too direct in their feedback initially, but we were able to kind of wrangle the team in. Carolyn did an awesome job kind of getting that from everyone on her side and then managing to put it all into something easily understandable and something that we could actually work with for us. And so I loved it. I think you guys are one of the most well-organized clients that I've worked with since being here. And so that was very helpful to me in helping us stay on track and on budget.
Yeah, there was that Google Doc, which kind of, Ryan, it reminds me of the Mega Doc from when we did the benefit dinner in December.
Oh, yeah.
This year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was kind of similar in that way. I mean, I tried to keep it organized for myself. I want to know what I'm doing. And then also I have a mindset of like, if I can have what I need together, then I can give it to someone, and it's gonna be much harder for them to accidentally make a mistake, to like misunderstand what I was saying and how I was writing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can do that better, I'll be more equipped in what I'm doing and remember what I'm doing. And then the other person will also be able to like run with it more effectively. So yeah, we had, the feedback is interesting. Like working with a creative endeavor, I think that's a different kind of approach that people have to learn how to work within, and what is helpful for the designer. Because I know that was something I would say, like, yeah, you have all these ideas, but we can't just give all these ideas. We have to also understand what we want and who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And Backflip does understand who we are, and they can give us that feedback, but we still are the owners of that. So what is the most important thing that we want to communicate? And then we have to share that with Hannah so that she can really effectively take that piece and do something with it. Otherwise, we're going to give her 5 ideas, and then she has to figure out which one we think is the most important. That's not going to feel good for her. That's probably going to lead to us not really liking it as much. So the more clear you can be, the better everyone is going to be off, and everyone's going to be much happier in the process too.
Yeah, that's that's really important. What about you, Emily? What's kind of been your experience going through this?
Yeah, I loved the start with the kind of user profiles that Carolyn mentioned. That was very helpful as the project went along, because we were able to make more informed decisions of not just like what do we think is best, but what will be best for the parents and the benefactors and whatnot. So it really helped like make the conversations more pointed, and I appreciated that as we were kind of comparing different features or different ways the design could be done.
I think we're getting Hannah back in there.
I'm working on it.
Nice. Are you on your phone now?
Yeah. I'm trying.
That's all right. This is a part of the charm of the show,
Mm-hmm.
when everything goes wrong. Yeah, it's so important, that organization and having these conversations up front, I think, are really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a Pixar Creativity Inc. sort of methodology, where they let their directors or let their creatives, whoever's kind of creatively in charge of a project, come up with the solutions. And anybody else, the other directors, the other writers, the other crew, when they hear or see the creative direction, they ask questions. And if they see any problems, they raise up those problems, but they don't provide solutions. They let the creative brain trust provide those solutions. And I think that's important in this type of project as well. And it might be easier for people to think about like a house, right? So you're going to build a house. I'd say that's probably pretty analogous with kind of what we're doing here creatively. And you have some idea of what it's going to be like inside and how it's going to be arranged and things you like and things you don't like. However, you don't have the architectural or engineering background to understand, okay, well, I want this shape and this here and that and this stairway here and this, wall and height of this, right? that might be an engineering nightmare, or it might be impossible, or it might be not to code. There's so many reasons why that might not work. But when you're designing a house, you're generally not doing that. I mean, most people I know don't do that. If you have a desire for a stairway to be somewhere else, you provide that feedback. Oh, I'd like it to be open, and I'd like the, stairway. I think I kind of like it in these designs over here, like how it's done. Because there's a problem that I'm trying to solve. Here's the problem. As opposed to, this is how it's going to work, and this is how I would do it, or here's how I have done it. Because again, building a house, you don't know what you don't know, and why something is a good idea or why something is not a good idea. And so starting that up front, having that conversation, we like to share and kind of say, like, let's be descriptive instead of prescriptive. So if you want some kind of functionality like a, man, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, right.
Like a, really prominent donate button, right, for a website. Say donations are really important, so we would like a button way up front that gets people right away to it. That's a very helpful descriptive way to discuss an idea, as opposed to, okay, we're going to do a rounded button, it's going to be green, and it's got to go right here, and it's got to be this many pixels big. And as soon as the designer or the developer hear that, it's a little like, ooh, well, okay, we can just do stuff. However, here's 10 reasons why that's not going to work, or why we would do it just a little bit differently. So instead of having to do that every time, when you can be descriptive instead of prescriptive, it gets us a lot further. So yeah, I think that's a great process, doing the personas right up in front, because it can get really personal too. Like, I think it should be like this. And like you said, Carolyn, lots of people have lots of different opinions. It would be a travesty if Hannah and Emily had to sort through that and be like, okay, I'm going to pick this one and pick this one and pick this one. And, then it's like, well, my idea made it in here, but it didn't make it over here. And, that's just a nightmare. Or you get
someone saying, well, why is that like that? And it's like, well, we gave it to them. Mm-hmm. We told them to do that. So then that's what they did. And then no one's happy. And then time could be wasted if that's what had happened, And I think the other thing that happens with that process is, and I think this is maybe something that some people might not have realized, not like the internal team that we were working with necessarily, but kind of broader. Some people might not realize how much time that takes. Like, you're really going through and you're analyzing things, you're assessing things. It's not just like, okay, well, here's what we want, here are the pages, and we're just going to take what we have and we're going to do this. And I think there was an assumption that's why I don't think anyone had this idea, because I did kept saying it throughout the process, saying, just so you know, this will take more time than you think about. It will take a long amount of time, because we're going to do it well. We're going to be very thorough about it. And so we had these long conversations around this table here. And then I had a lot of long conversations over Zoom with my colleagues about this to really parse through, because good things, magical things can happen when you have a conversation. And then I'm not thinking about something, but Angela might say something from the perspective of someone who talks to prospective parents. And she's going to give me a light bulb moment. And then I'm going to be able to incorporate that, or I'm going to be able to adequately, convey what we need to convey. And so you're able to get that important feedback from people. You're brainstorming, you're collaborating, you are, thinking of things that you wouldn't have thought on your own. And I think that's the beauty of working with a group, especially a group that has, I think humility really comes into it too. Like, you have the humility to understand, okay, here's my perspective. This is my first kind of gut instinct. This is what I think might be best. But maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe there is a better way or a different way that's going to help serve our purposes better. And so I think if you can have any team meeting, any group project, any whatever it is, you can have a really strong opinion about something, but the way you share it is really important. And the way you take other people's ideas is really important, because then it's not just, well, I automatically think this is the best idea and this is the way we have to go. But you have to take into account the things that you might not be taking into account. So I thought that was a really good process. And I was always very pleased with the conversations that I was having with the internal team. And then little pieces that Emily would say something or Hannah would say something. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know we could do that. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, okay. And then I would take that back to my internal team and say, well, here's what they suggested. So I think it was a really good, you just work through a process together. And we all had that good amount of humility. We had good ideas. We had, passion when we thought something was really important. And we wanted to explain why it was so important. And, there were some things where I was like, yeah, I don't really mind too much. Like, I'm not going to die on that hill. And then there were a couple of things where I was like, no, I think this is really fundamental and this is why. And I will make a case for why I think this is so important. So there was a good amount of like give and take with the team.
Yeah. And one thing you're pointing out that I don't know if we mentioned is like the point person. It's so useful because it really takes it away from like my idea and your idea and whatnot. Like you're saying, people are talking to you and working with you and giving you ideas and thoughts, and you can kind of suss them all out, and some might come stronger, some might come less strong, but then we also have that lens of the personas to go through. So then it's not about, okay, well, is it just because somebody wants it, or is it a good idea? It kind of sidesteps both of those and goes towards a more user focused. Is this what the user would want? Is this what is best for the user?
Yeah, because you can have a lot of ideas about what to put on a website. And for us, okay, it's a school, it's a Catholic school. What do we need to share with families that are currently enrolled, prospective families, benefactors, alumni, random community members who might just be coming to see the musical or whatever? What is it that's really most important? Because you can have this huge list of all these things that are important. What is the most important? Because your homepage can only be so long before people just go, that's just endlessly scrolling. I'm out. Like, this is too much. And so it was a good process of like, what are the, tiering the things by importance, and then making sure that they had adequate space. And Hannah was good at suggesting certain things that we wouldn't have thought of, how to make something still prominent in a way that's not going to be obtrusive to the view, but that's still going to have a spot. It has a place. And that was I really appreciated that aspect of it, because I knew that there was good creativity going on behind the scenes on your side, the backflip side, and that I had a lot of confidence in what was happening on your side of things too. We're good partners.
And I think one thing that's so fantastic is just how organized you tend to be. This is with so many moving parts, like the mega doc, like, and I know Hannah does this too, and Emily on our side likes to create those just documents that we can all work in together and keep everything straight.
Yeah.
Because there's so many moving parts, and at the end of the day, is it the end of the world with this stuff if something doesn't get migrated or something gets migrated late? It's not. However, if you write it down, if you're taking notes, if we're reviewing it, then potentially things can get caught before we've implemented them. So Emily's not redoing stuff twice because there was an error early on or something was forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like having respect for the people that I work with, because I don't want to waste someone's time. I don't like when my time is wasted. And if you can avoid it, it's kind of like that you're using the building a house analogy, measure twice, cut once. So I measured 3 times and I cut once, or whatever the case was. I mean, there was a lot of, in a sense, redundancy, if you want to think about it like that. I mean, I know every part of that website because I saw it. I was in it so intensely. And, even then, like, there was something that happened in the back end, and then some links ended up being broken. Something went weird. And so there was a point at which I asked Angela to go through all the pages, because she had offered, if I needed help, if I needed someone to look over anything, let her know. And so I did. And she was methodically going through every single pages I had already methodically gone through. But in the meantime, links had been broken. So she started clicking on them, and they were all within this one kind of subset of the pages. And if we hadn't been that kind of, maybe a bit anal retentive, but thorough, it's really thorough, we wouldn't have caught that. And then someone would have visited the site, and maybe they would have told us, maybe they wouldn't have told us, and we wouldn't have known. And so I think it is worthwhile to just really go back and check over the work. Go back, be detailed, be careful, think about it methodically. Don't be haphazard, be organized as much as you can, because the end result is going to be so much better, and it's going to be way less stressful. And that is a good thing.
Yeah. So let's get Emily and Hannah in on this. Like, what was the most challenging part of this for you guys?
I can start. So at the very beginning of this, we kind of had an outline of what page templates we were going to create for all of the content. And as we started getting into it, I did a deeper dive into a lot of the pages they had and how things worked, and talking to Carolyn about how they wanted things to work on the new website. And so I had to sort of create a template that was very flexible. And so for Emily, she had to build in all of these different blocks of content that could be turned on and off depending on what that subpage needed. So that was really difficult for me to try to design in a way that would be easy enough for Emily to develop and for Carolyn and her team to use on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even when you go into it, like from my perspective of that, I saw all of those different options in there, and they were labeled really well. So, you know, it's like side by side, 3 side by side, 2 red blocks, or I mean, it's that kind of really descriptive nature. But Emily or Hannah had printed out those templates, and I kept those next to me while I was working because it's something new. It's like a new language that you're learning. Like you have these blocks that you're able to play with, and you're able to build something. What block is appropriate for what time? And what content will fit best on this particular page. So like it's super flexible because of that extra work that she did. It's so flexible now that anytime in the future, as long as this website is in existence, you can create different kinds of content and fit it into the template, which is really like the most flexible thing I've ever imagined that it could be. So it's like abundantly flexible and abundantly like useful for us. So the extra work was like, so appreciated.
Yeah, Carolyn, I like how you bring up the descriptive titles because those are so challenging because the pieces are similar but different, and you don't want obnoxious titles with that visual cue of, oh, they're kind of in this order, so I know like what they look like now. Mm-hmm. It's very helpful when building like that. But one interesting challenge for me was that we started implementation and adding the content a little bit sooner than we normally do. And part of that was eased because, Carolyn, you already were familiar with the WordPress backend. We didn't have to do a full training to get you in there and be able to get the content in. But that meant that I was still in process of making it look good on the front end while you were doing the content. And so it just took extra communication of you were like, hey, this thing looks funny, or this isn't showing up. And I was like, great, like I'm not there yet, or I thought it was linked up and it wasn't. And just like working through which was in which category was a different, just a different process than what it has looked like in other projects. So I appreciated your flexibility with that and communication because that made it easier for both of us to not freak out if something looked wonky while everything was still in process.
Yeah, especially because the timeline was kind of weird. So like I was not ever, it was just kind of what it was. So Hannah had given me kind of, here are the ones that she's still working on, just don't touch these yet, they'll be coming. Yeah, so then there was that kind of little gray area sometimes where like it was developed, but maybe something went wrong, but I wasn't sure if it was just not done yet or if it was wrong. Like there was a little bit of gray area, but it was fine because I didn't get upset about it. Like there was no need to. It was just kind of like, hey, is this done yet? Okay, great. Thanks. Good. Like I'll wait. And that's no problem whatsoever. So I think as long as people are flexible and they're just kind of willing to roll with it, then, and you communicate, like you said, it's fine.
Yeah. You had good expectations of like, oh, we're still in progress, and not just like, oh, because I'm putting content in there, I want it to show up perfectly. And so you made it easy on me, but it was just a different communication style, I guess.
Yeah, and being able to do it was like a favor, though. I think that's part of my like reason behind it is because it was like a favor to me that I was able to start doing it. So then it wasn't as stressful for me to get it done in like a week and get everything in and everything tested and all that kind of stuff. So the kinks worked out. Like I was able to get in and start doing what I could, and then everything else could kind of come after that. Because I remember there was like a week of time where I really didn't do much because it was like really heavy on the front end, a week of lag, and then like really heavy on the back end. And so that was really a good like pace for me to have instead of just 1 week. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny too, that feature that you're talking about, that flexibility and what we provided, we kind of came up with a unique way to do that in the tools that we use. And then lo and behold, a few months after this site, we've kind of architected this site. There's a new system, a new plugin that kind of gives us the capability to do something like that a little bit more easy, which is just kind of how the internet goes,
Yeah.
It's a common problem. So maybe the update in a couple of years. I don't know. How long does a website last these days? How long do everyone wants them to last? Like 20 years, but the way devices change, it's not that long, unfortunately.
Think about 20 years ago. What was the internet like in 2001?
Woof.
Yahoo was like that nasty little banner and like a bunch of weird links on the left side and like weird blocks in the middle. Like think of Google. Like what did Google look like 20 years ago? My goodness. Yeah, I mean, what do people say? Like, how long does a website really last? I mean, in an ideal world, if you have a reasonable budget, not like a Microsoft or whatever, that they can just constantly be working on things. Like, what would you say would be a reasonable amount of time, ideal amount of time for a website to really last?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the biggest challenge is, again, that every year things are changing. So I think maybe what's more important is to be adapting regularly instead of doing a redesign every 7 years or something. That seems to be what people kind of do. 7 years is like, oh, this is so broken and janky, I can't handle it, we need a new one. But ideally, every couple of years, every 2 years, there could be a smaller refresh. Spread that out. Stay current without having to completely throw the baby out with the bathwater every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ours previously was 8 years old. It was the 2013 WordPress editor, which was broken and janky and the bane of my existence in many ways. Anytime I try to do something, I'm like, oh, that doesn't work now? Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, right. And it's, it's tough, but it probably needs to be part of that kind of ongoing maintenance in a budget or something where, you keep your building from falling down and, you upgrade stuff and try not to just renovate the whole thing. It always comes back to these analogies, right? You try not to renovate every 7 years, but if you can just continue to update and keep things working well and current, then you have much less of an issue there.
Well, I even think the design that we have right now, I mean, it feels like, I don't know what the right word is, like premature.
Awesome?
No, premature is one word for it. Like to think about the next website. Like I'm not thinking about the next website for St. Ambrose Academy. What I'm thinking about is this flexible design, the flexible back end. And so you could make things that, it's just updating the content so it looks different. And maybe the template, you kind of switch something around and you shake that up a bit so it's not just the same. But really, I think most people who are going to that website regularly, they're probably parents. They're looking for really specific information. We have a parent portal. That was something that I know a number of parents have already mentioned to me, like how much they appreciate being able to go to one place and they can find the e-newsletter that goes out every week. They can find the current schedule. They can find information on uniforms or the pre-planned absence form, like the things that they need to find the most. They can go right there and find that. Otherwise, who's really coming and seeing the website that regularly? I wonder about that. I think a lot of it is probably a particular moment in a person's life, like prospective parents. They're kind of checking out on things. They're curious, what is the course of curriculum like? What is math like at St. Ambrose Academy? What kind of sports do they have? And so they're probably kind of investigating in a 1 to 2, 3, 4 year period before their child is old enough to come to the school. And after that, they're probably not looking at those pages anymore. And so it is kind of like a new audience. There's like that cycle of new audiences. It's not like Target, where you're constantly going to it because you need a new toothbrush or you need a rug or you need a whatever. So it's a different kind of audience than a retail site or a blog site or a recipe site, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, we have Google Analytics, right? So that's a one tool that helps us figure out what people are actually doing and what people are saying that they actually need, as opposed to just an opinion of, I think people really, use this. Look at the statistics, they're not using it. It might show that the user experience is broken, right? If they can't find it, if it's more easily found, then it'll be more easily used. Or it could also mean that, what was that?
A horn outside?
Yeah. I guess we do have the ambulance trucks over there. I don't know if that's what it was. I just barely kind of heard it because I have the headphones on. This is great. Yeah, because 3 of us are in Backflip. Yeah. Carolyn, myself, and Hannah. And Emily's at Backflip, Minnesota. So challenges for you, Carolyn. We kind of went through Hannah and Emily's challenges. What were challenges for you in this project?
I think one of the biggest ones was getting people, like keeping track of all the things that I needed from individual people. Because we had the kind of core team that was really providing a lot of information. The course of study I mentioned before, that was a really big part for us because it's a school. And so when people are going and looking at a school, they're sending their child there. They want to know, what is my child going to learn? How good is this school at doing what a school should do, which is educating a child? And so we really wanted to make sure that that had the most helpful and updated information, and that it was presented in a way that was indicative of who we are, that it's not just this dry text and then this is what they read and this is what they do and this is what they do. We didn't want it to be like that because that's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so to incorporate Connie Nielsen, who's the Dean of Faculty, she was very fundamental in this because she wrote all the curriculum. She was the director of classical education kind of while that curriculum was being developed. And then that was really no longer needed. So she transitioned back to only being the Dean of Faculty. So she was then working with all of the teachers about different things. And so I was waiting, on that kind of content, or certain pages had a certain person involved because they owned that content. They're the really ones that are driving the content. So I had to keep track of those people. And, it was summer. Teachers are not really working in the summer. And so then I was like, hey, sorry to bother you. Do you have this thing? Because it's not urgent, but I do need it eventually. And so the more loose ends you have, the harder it is to keep track of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing I think that was probably the most challenging. And then also just kind of taking people's feedback. We were talking earlier about different people have different opinions. They have different things they like, different things they don't like. And so you're trying to kind of parse through, because someone might say they like these 10 things and they dislike these 10 things. But that doesn't mean they like them all equally or they dislike them all equally. They probably really, really hate 2 of those ideas and they dislike 8, and they're kind of okay, or maybe just like 6, and they're kind of okay with 2, but they don't prefer them. So then you have to kind of read people and you have to understand, okay, well, what did you mean when you said that? Like, you don't like this. Why don't you like it? Is there like a little twist we can make and that'll make it better? So just learning how to kind of understand people's feedback and then filter it and take it, put it together and give it in such a way that it's useful to the Backflip team, or it's useful to me when writing the content or kind of working with other people to write the content. So I would say those are probably the 2 biggest things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, that seems kind of ubiquitous too across this type of project, right? Kind of the expected challenges. So yeah, having kind of setting up yourself for success in the beginning, I think is your best opportunity. Being organized, point person, how we communicate, where we communicate, that at least gets you down the right path. Things will always come up, and you kind of pivot and deal with them creatively, problem solve. But yeah, I think you guys were also very, very open to just our kind of direction and leadership, which is great. That can be tough. It actually, it's not as tough these days, but it was tough 10 years ago when we were, more baby faced.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a sentiment of like, you're young, you don't know. I mean, not that you don't know what you're doing. It's like you're young and I can kind of do this. I know more. So my opinion is just as important as you, the professional designer or developer or something like that.
I think it also had to do with my relationship with you, and like with you specifically, Ryan, because you were talking, but Backflip as a whole, that I was able to be, because I was the point person, I was the one who was really the go-between between the 2 sides. And a lot of times people would say something like, just trust them. It's fine. Like, it'll be fine. Because if they have a question, they will ask. If we don't like something that they did, they're not going to be offended. I mean, as long as we don't say something offensive, which we won't, but we will work together. And because I had a lot of confidence in you guys, and it's not just about like age, it's not even about experience necessarily, but like confidence that the person that you're working with is being thoughtful about what they're doing. And they do have a good mind towards this kind of work, and they are going to bring something to the table that we don't have. And so I think it's acknowledging, going back to humility, like it's acknowledging that like I don't have all the answers, And even like when we were working internally, the menu was a good example of like, what do we want the menu to say? I think that's a really fundamental thing. I've worked on websites before too.
Mm-hmm.
What is the menu going to be? What are the most important things you have there? And that changed a few times, even at the very end. And I was like, hey, Emily and Hannah, can we just like add this one thing? Sorry, thank you. And so like as we went through the process, then we kind of understood, oh yeah, no, this would be better. So our first idea was a good one, but we were able to make it better and make it more useful. And so just that process, like it is a process. And that's why I tried to help communicate to my team that it's okay. It's okay that these things change. It's fluid and it's dynamic and it's good and healthy. So we don't have to have the answer on day one, but it's going to go back to like, who are we serving? We're going to go back to the basics of those personas. What do they need? Not just our own idea of what we want it to be, because I'm not the target audience. And most of the people, not most, half of the people on the team weren't necessarily the target audience. So, taking a step back is really important in that.
Mm-hmm. What? Let's see. Let's go kind of the opposite direction. What was kind of some of your favorite parts of this? It was a lot of work. There were challenges, but I would say just briefly, like again, the team. Like we've said that before. You, Carolyn, Hannah, and Emily, you're all very good communicators and very organized people. So that I think was a really great piece of the product or process, especially since I'm I don't know what my title would be.
It changes every 5 days, I think.
It does. Yeah. It's required to update every 5 days. Otherwise I lose my job.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah. So, I manage the web team, but I'm traveling a lot and producing a lot and directing a lot. So I'm not seeing everything day to day, and everyone being able to stay on top of it and communicate, I think was just wonderful. And then, your team, Carolyn, being engaged, like that was fantastic. Even having ideas that might not be a descriptive way of solving a problem, might be prescriptive, like we were able to work through stuff, and figure out, okay, well, what's at the core of this and how do we solve that core issue? And so, I would say just good people made it enjoyable through challenges, and, made it so that it was an experience that is like, oh man, I wish everyone could be like this. Every web project, or I guess every project, period. Who wants to go? Don't everyone jump at once.
No, there was silence, so I started. Sorry.
Yeah.
I try to not like take over a conversation. I'm like very mindful of that. But if there's like too much of a pause, I'm like, well, when it came to like the logo, so we haven't even mentioned the logo, but the website itself, I was just so excited that we weren't going to have that old janky website. Like, sorry to anyone who was a part of it, but it had its life. It lived its life, and then it needed to be refreshed. And so it's not that it was bad. It was just outdated. It was no longer what people expect to see. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was bad though too. So I take that back, but it lived its life. And I'm like loose. I'm like having a beer. I feel loose.
It's great.
But the idea that I was able to help after 3 years, like this was one of the things that I first asked about when I first came on at St. Ambrose. I was like, hey, you mentioned something about the website. Like, is that in the process? Are there plans for that? Like, what can we do? And it was just not the right time. The budget wasn't there. We tried working something out. We tried doing something. Wasn't there. It wasn't happening. We have other competing interests. We have a capital campaign to build a new permanent building. We have all these things. So it's not a bad thing. You can only do so much at one time with limited resources. So finally, I felt so happy that I was able to put this lovely little dream from 3 years ago into reality. And so like every page that I made, every time I was putting content in it, just thinking like how much better this is going to be, how much better it's going to serve the organization, how much better it's going to look to a new person. So you have a 30-something-year-old mom who's thinking, okay, my child's in 4th grade. What is he going to do in 6th grade? And she feels Catholic School Madison, and she sees St. Ambrose Academy. When she goes to that website now, it looks like it reflects who the school is. It is a very dynamic, it's a very fun, it's a very faithful kind of place. And it's the kind of place that I think the website now shows, I should check this out. This looks really good. Okay, I'm going to call. And then there are all these calls to action. So no matter where you are on the page, you're going to see call, donate, send us a message, whatever it is. And that's my favorite part. Just like, so it's not even so much about the process, because the process was great. It was fun. But like for me, just being able to finally have a website that it's not like, sorry, yeah, I know. Okay. And it's so much more functional. It's so much more descriptive about who the community is, and not just like, ooh, it looks kind of outdated, or it looks like, I don't know, is the school outdated? Is it old fashioned? Is it, do I want my child there? I don't think you have that impression anymore.
All right,
Emily, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. I would echo what Ryan said about people. I really loved calling Carolyn. I was never like nervous. We had some great chats. That was fun. But then another opportunity that this site presented was the ability to be more flexible than our other designs. Our designs have been always very dynamic in content and in images, but so that our clients can't accidentally break things, some things are set in stone. And so we're trying to find the balance of let's add some more flexibility, but I still don't want them to like be able to break things by just clicking the wrong button. So that was fun. It was a good challenge. And then like Ryan said, we now have a new tool, but it was definitely a stepping stone to like looking for that new tool and looking for something new and different, and always improving our process and what we can offer our clients.
Well, even like the Google Translate thing, you said this was the first time you'd really encountered that. So like, that's kind of cool too. Just another tool in your arsenal of knowing how to help another client perhaps down the road.
Or is this like the Wpml auto translate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've used, so Wpml is Wordpress Multilingual. We've actually used that with the Archdiocese of LA, but they translated everything. So we didn't have to set up the automatic system, but yeah, it was great to go through that and get that configured for you. And it seems like that was a pretty great solution instead of spending, I don't remember,
was it like $20,000?
$20,000 to get the website translated? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what's the balance? Like, it's a good
Right.
tool. It's a good solution. We can now be more accessible to Spanish-speaking families, because we do have quite a few Spanish-speaking families, and not all of them, but some of them, the parents don't speak English. I mean, they don't speak English as their primary language, of course, but they're not as comfortable in English. So their child is often the one who's, telling them, okay, this is what we're doing and this is what this is. And that's not ideal. You want the parent to be able to really drive some of those things and understand what's going on. So that was a huge step up in functionality for us right there, because we do have, gosh, I don't even know what the percentage is, but maybe 15%, 20% families who are from a native Spanish speaking background. And that kind of functionality is really important.
All right. Anna, what do you got?
Yeah, for me, I think I have a few favorite things that I really liked about this project on top of the logo and how organized you were, Carolyn. I really loved the challenge of making that interior page template super flexible so that each page could feel unique in its own way. And then I think my winner here is actually the mega menu. I had pushed for that pretty hard in the beginning, and I know there was some back and forth and this maybe just feels too overwhelming, or, people aren't going to be used to it because that's not what they see every day. But this was a really good opportunity to use the mega menu because you guys have so much content. It was a nice way for us to organize the navigation without, feeling like you were switching so abruptly from one long list of pages to another. And so this allowed a lot of breathing room around each of those links. And then we also created a little feature within the mega menu that allows you to drop in a photo and have a larger sort of call to action for a specific page. So for the patron saint, we were able to call that page out very distinctly. And the St. Ambrose, athletic wear and student gear, we were able to call that out, and the guidance counselor corner. So more fun pages that don't always get clicked on. So I think that was one of my favorites.
What was
Yeah,
that?
as soon as you proposed, sorry, right?
No, you go ahead.
Proposed it, like that was I was like, yes, this is what we have to do. Because before on the old website, you would click and it would drop down, and sometimes it'd be like 13 deep or 5 deep or whatever it was, and your mouse, like you're just I have like an actual like real mouse, but you know, if you're just scrolling on your trackpad, that can get really wonky if you're trying to do it. And just visually it looks so much better because you're really able to highlight and you're able to kind of carry forth your voice with that mega menu in a way that you wouldn't if it was just I forgot what they're called when they're stacked, but that kind of thing. Like we have the guidance counselor corner. I changed to the college counselor corner because again, it's kind of like, well, what do people want to know when they come? Is my child going to be ready for college? Are you going to prepare my child well? And now you see under academics, college counselor's corner, your journey starts here. Like, yes, the short answer to your question, yes, we will. And now you can click and you can find out more information why that's the case. And I love the college counselor's page. Like I even sent Mary Skemp. She's Dr. Mary Skemp. She's the dean of students. And I actually sent her just a random text out of nowhere one day. I was like, I just really love this page so much because I was going through and kind of finessing things. And there's so much helpful information there that just thinking about a parent looking at that and finding good information made me so happy. It just made me so delighted that we were doing that. And it's prominently shown in that mega menu. So Honda P agree.
Mm-hmm. I think it might be useful too. Like, obviously, there's a shameless plug element to this, but just to take a look and like if you want to show it and share some of those elements, because I'm not super aware. You guys can do it. You drive, because I'm not super aware of like the flexibility. Like, show me one page and let's look at one page and a separate page that's different, but same template or whatever. Like a good example of flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Share my computer is getting kind of broken, guys. It's
No.
Yeah, I mean you tried gluing it. Remember, the glue came off.
Yeah, I didn't glue it very well.
You have to glue your computer?
Yeah, because the base of it, like the external nature of the computer, is kind of busted. So Ryan took some Gorilla Glue and tried gluing it together.
It just got kind of gummy and didn't work.
It was a good attempt. Yeah, so this is the. Sorry, I'm sharing like the whole window. So you're seeing like all my tabs. This is delightful. But this is going through it, right?
Yep.
I don't have a second monitor, so I'm just using my laptop here. So mega menu, we got Tour Samber's Academy today. I'm going to try to make it a little bit. Again, if I had a second monitor, we would be able to work a little bit better in here. So here's the college counselor's corner, which is great just to highlight some of these different things. Tour Samber's Academy, again, call to action. If you're a parent who has a child who you're thinking about sending, there you go, Tour Samber's Academy. About our patron saint, this is actually a custom image that our executive director commissioned someone to make. So this image right here of St. Ambrose is unique in that way. It's not just the stock photo from wherever. Student life, get your spirit gear now. Support, we have our building campaign. So obviously that's a really good thing to highlight in this kind of a mega menu situation here. Contact us, and then the habla español. So this is one of the pages we added kind of at the end before the whole site translation was up to give some more functionality for people. I love that this is also, you can see here like a little bit of animation.
I just want to go back to the mega menu real quick. So another thing that is really good for you guys is that each of those blocks, I mean, the whole menu itself is customizable, but each of those blocks can be changed out at any point throughout the year, depending on what your campaign is, or, if you have a big event coming up that you'd like to highlight. A lot of people are going to start by, kind of sifting through those nav items. And so it's a great way to grab people's attention, just, from a visual standpoint right away.
Yeah. Because text you can kind of like gloss over. Your mind kind of tunes out sometimes. But images, it like calls your attention really, really quickly.
Yep.
So then we have kind of this main banner, the main stage. We really deliberated over these links right here, the visit, apply, and events, kind of what were the most important things we really want to highlight. So again, making it really action oriented for the people who want to visit prospective families, applying. That's obviously we want to make it really easy for people to apply to send their child here. And then events, the things that if you're a community member, what are the events that are happening? When is your musical? To make that very easy for people. This was something I campaigned for super hard right here, because I wanted the ability to really highlight content that was changing regularly and things that we wanted to invite people to, especially. So celebrating Fonta, class of 2013, alumnus of St. Ambrose Academy, recently ordained priest. What a great thing to celebrate. So you click on this and then you can see more information about the event. You can RSVP, and that will switch out as soon as Sunday is over. I'm going to switch that out to something else. Welcome to 3 Point Place. We moved. So we were in some donated space, and now we have an interim space before our campaign is done. So I want people to know where we are. What is it like? Here are some photos from the first day. So this photo used to be something else as a placeholder. And then on the first day of school, we did a whole blessing around the building, and our chaplain, Father Greg, came. And so it was this really beautiful way to start the new year. And so that's a photo of the blessing. And then there are a couple other photos in the background too. And then you have more animation, which I think is just really fun and custom. Like, it's not just a template that you went on some website and you bought it and you like plugged your stuff in, but there's intentionality to it and it's personal. And, this was a really key thing that Angela really wanted, especially. I mean, we all did, but I remember her being very passionate about this. Like, who are we? What are the most important things for our school? And we need to make sure people know those things because it's a selling point for us. And so you can click here and learn more about what makes St. Ambrose unique. So yeah, all these things are just like really delightful to me. Even after I've seen it for so much time for the past 4 months, I'm still like, yeah, I love this. Like that photo of Heather, it's kind of like getting blocked. Maybe we should, maybe is that broken? I don't know. It's kind of like getting hidden. But I just love that photo of her. It's like so, I mean, she looks like a professional, like just like her face, and it's so delightful and joyful. And, that's like what our musicals are like. They're wonderful. They're high quality. And so it conveys all of that in a simple image.
Yeah, that's weird. Whatever's happening to yours there.
Yeah, it just like jumped too far.
Yeah. Oh, I see. When you're at the end, yeah, it'll do that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of resets if you go back to the beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so these are just, I mean, that like just having the movement right there is like such a fun little touch with that image. Yeah, so like here's our faculty. We wanted to highlight how awesome our faculty are. We just have some really great people who are super committed. A lot of our people have PhDs, which is not necessarily a requirement to be a great teacher, but we have people who are so committed to this community, to the mission of St. Ambrose, that they could go and get a job somewhere else. They're qualified for so many things, but we're able to have them teaching 6th through 12th graders. Like your 6th grader can be taught by someone who has a PhD in geology or geography or history or whatever it is. So I think that's just like a really great selling point. Again, like what are the things that we want to convey the most from the get-go when people first kind of show up at the website? Our capital campaign, this is very flexible. Hannah mentioned like the flexibility of things. So the campaign won't go on forever. And when the campaign is done, we can take this out of the homepage or we can use this for some other kind of purpose, which is really, really helpful for that kind of flexibility. Love this. Love the Facebook feed being put into this kind of format because it just looks, I think it looks really compelling. Like it's a fun environment. There's a little bit of faith and you have some athletics. You have a little bishop. We love our bishop. The invitation for Father Michael to come. So Hannah, I'm not sure if you know, like I broke down all the new logo stuff. So like
that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of a description about every element of the logo. And those are posted on Facebook like once every 3 days. So there's a little series of them. So, kind of look maybe like same if you're looking at it all at once like this. But basically people got to see why this was incorporated, what it means, the background of it, and just to help people understand, again, who we are. Because this logo really embodies, I think, who St. Ambrose is.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you click on one of those just to pull that up too? You had mentioned earlier, Hannah, too, just, the logo. Mm-hmm. I forgot to mention that we redesigned that with you guys as well. Maybe just talk about that a little because, yeah, I open it up again and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's right. It is nuts. It's so good.
Yeah, so there were a lot of really good ideas when we first sat down to talk about the new logo in regards to what they wanted to see. And so we kind of landed on removing the face of the bishop and just kind of focusing on the mitre itself being the prominent element of this. And then for me, it was fun to try to think of who St. Ambrose is, what is representative of him in terms of different symbols and finding ways to bring that in. So if you do get a chance to zoom in and like really look at it, we have the book at the base there for education. He's called the honey tongue doctor, and so we have the wings from the honeybees, and then we have some scrolls kind of flanking it on either side at the bottom that helps ground it, and it's representative of a couple of things. It speaks to the sort of classical education of everything, and then if you think about the I don't know what they're called, the tails on the mitre. It's kind of representative of those almost curled up. And then at the very top, we have a fleur-de-lis, which is a nod to the Trinity and a nod to Mary as well.
Yeah.
The bee wings are one of my favorite. Oh, and the cross. I think you mentioned the cross right here.
Yeah, so the cross, there's 4 kind of what look like little dots around it. I mean, obviously the cross is a primary symbol of Christianity. And then those little dots are actually hexagons, which, you know, also relate back to the honeycomb. So tying it all back into him being the honey-tongued doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was a different, I mean, I think that's a cool evolution of process too, that originally that cross, one idea was having a bit more elaborate, and it had, you know, like the cross shape, and then there was kind of an outline echoing that cross shape. And then you presented this one as an alternative. And I really like this because there's a lot more happening in the rest of the logo. And then this is a bit more simple. And I do really appreciate the kind of balance of it, because I thought the other one was just a bit too much. It wasn't bad. It looked really good. But I did like when we kind of simplified it, especially because, like this says, you know, the Jerusalem cross, you know, there are these 5 wounds of Christ that are emphasized in the Jerusalem cross, which is really, really commonly seen in Jerusalem and the Holy Land and everywhere else. So I like that that's kind of an homage to this, a really early symbol. You know, so you think of like classical education being going back to these basic great works and some of these time-tested methods that people have used for thousands of years. And so then you also have a cross that is this very ancient symbol, and you're incorporating all those things together.
The other nice thing about the simplicity of how that cross ended up is that it's an element that we use throughout the site, and it kind of highlights certain sections, and then we use it in the favicon for the website. And so once your logo gets really small, or you have to lay it out in a certain way in a more horizontal format, you can ultimately simplify the logo down to that symbol and just the words St. Ambrose Academy, and it's going to become synonymous with the rest of the brand.
Mm-hmm. We also have the cross right here too for the campaign section.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of creativity and just like repeating elements was one of my favorite things, being able to do that echoing of the symbols and the meaning behind things. We have a couple, you were talking about the templates, or I think Emily was talking about the templates. One of the things that we did was we have a couple landing pages essentially, and that's kind of weird. So like student life, that was a really big thing for us, and showing again the life of the student body, and not just, you know, they're students, but they're also normal kids. And, you know, there are a lot of really great ways that we're able, like this right here is a good example of, there is a call to action that could be put into this section, but we don't want it right now. So it's just text. That's all it is. But I could change it, and I could put a call to action towards the bottom of that right there. And then we have these great blue bars that we can use not only on this page, but on other pages too, if we want to. And so there's the ability to have the links right here. There's the ability to have a quote right there. We also have one where it's more just like icons, and information, like short infographic style kinds of presentations. So that's another really great feature. And then here's a good example of like one of those blocks. Like you can have these little posts and they're quick little things and we can swap them out. And, it's just more things that I could add to this page if I wanted to, because it's in the back end. But this is kind of what we wanted to start with and just give people something and then reevaluate and periodically swap things out.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say too, real quick with the logo, it can be very complex or it could be very simple, like you see it up there on the left. It just kind of looks like the miter and it's nice looking and kind of makes sense with St. Ambrose Academy. But then you get close, you blow it up. It's got so much more meaning and depth and care. And, hopefully that's how a lot of this feels like, oh yeah, it's a nice website. But then you look at it and you're like, wow, look at the care that's gone in here. Because then that reflects on the organization, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is a good example of, I was looking at, so Ryan, we were, the thing that you got sent, there was that marketing piece that Monica was sharing with us via text yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With all the various styles and everything. And she was showing it to me last night. And I was like, this bothers me for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is because there are so many stock photos. I know those are fake. Like that's not your community. And, that's one of the things I took to heart when I was doing this website. Like this photo right here is a stock photo. It's pretty obvious, I think, to people who know stock photos. Maybe not everyone does, but I took a lot of care with the stock photos I chose because we have a lot of pages on this website. We took a lot of our photos and we put them onto the website. And then there were some where it was kind of like, I don't really have something really perfect for this. And I could make something, I could do a little photo shoot and I could like get something. And then I found, Hannah gave me a couple of resources and she said, okay, here, take a look at these websites. If there's anything you like, let me know. We can get into the website. So I think it was like 6 photos overall. And I like that kind of ratio, that you're not overloading your website with images that are maybe indicative of your community or what you do, but ultimately they're not you. But with this, it's just, it's probably like 5%, 2% of our website photos are these stock photos, something like that. And so, this one, though, it's the course of study. And I felt like I don't want a photo. I want it to just be something really like evocative of what you're about to experience. You're digging into textbooks and you're learning and you're engaging with all these subject matters. So that was something I just wanted to point out. Like I was very proud of that fact that we had so many good photos. And there are some photos that are still placeholders. I will be doing something new now that school's back in session. But I felt really good about what we had. So I think good photos, the more attention you can pay to that. I know you guys also agree on that matter. The more photos you can get, the better your project is going to look.
Yep, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And Emily, let's get you in here. What's a fun thing in here that you'd love to show?
Well, actually, I like this. Is this a page that has the little logos that Hannah did on
Yes.
it? Yeah, I love those. You should show those. Great.
I love these.
This was fun because I had some initial ideas that I presented for these icons, and then it was great to get the feedback from the team. In some ways, it was a little challenging taking what they wanted and trying to put that into an icon. Yes, they were. Because the way that I think of an icon is like, okay, how can someone on the other side of the world look at this and understand it as the same thing that I understand it to be? And so that's where I was coming from. Whereas the team, they had opinions on like, well, sure, that's great, but it doesn't actually mean what I want it to mean for this specific purpose. So we kind of had to find a good balance there. But in the end, I think they all turned out really well. And they're all kind of custom to what St. Ambrose needed. And so moving forward, it's a great base for them to begin with when it comes to creating additional icons if needed.
So these are all custom, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And like a good example is like the religion one. Initially, it was a bit more, it was shorter. And I know Hannah had mentioned even too that this is kind of like her first pass at it, and she was planning on it. But one of the pieces of feedback that we received was, can you make it look more like an actual chalice? Because it did look a little bit more like a bowl with like a tiny foot. And so she extended that base and then made it look a little bit more like a chalice. And so I thought that was a really good piece of feedback. It does look more like a chalice that you would recognize if you went to mass. And I just, I mean, they're like playful, and I really do like the mathematics one. Initially, the idea was like the plus symbol and the division symbol and minus symbol. So it worked well. But, when the idea was presented that, hey, well, this really isn't necessarily indicative of the kind of math we do, we do like a higher level math. And so Hannah was like, okay, here, how about this? And I thought this was a great evolution of the idea. And it is very custom. Like when I see these, they look really impressive. And even people I've shown them to and talked about that, they call these out. They ask like, oh, these are really cool. Did they make these? And so that's something that people have noticed too.
I'm pulling it up on my side. I don't think I've looked that closely again.
Yeah, you were very, I mean, it was kind of fun. Yeah, something's going weird with like the loading of these pages. Do you see that?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of slow Wi-Fi here at the office.
Fair.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi gets kind of janky, unfortunately.
Gotcha. So yeah, we have like the junior high. So we have grades 6 through 8, and then we have grades 9 through 12. So we wanted to separate those two so that people could really clearly see the difference, depending on what they were looking for. And we have these 6 core subjects that everyone takes, and then there are some other classes like art and music and things like that. So we really wanted to emphasize, and I love like that responsiveness. When you click on something or when you hover over it, you can click on whatever you need. So there's just a little bit of a kind of overview text. And this is where the faculty really had a large hand in it to talk about what is it that you're going to do in English 6. And then you can go more in depth if you want to. So if you just really want a great overview, there you go. And then English 7 and then English 8. So you can see the progression of what's happening. We didn't have this before. It was like one of the faculty members told me, oh yeah, that course of study, that was never really intended to go on the website. I'm like, well, why was it on the website?
Ooh,
all right, it happens. But now we have something that's, we can really stand behind and we can really be proud of because it's what we do. And now people access it. They don't have to ask and get into a conversation with us. They can just be going online at 10 o'clock at night when their kids are in bed and they can see this. And my gosh, if I saw this, English 6, like you're going to be reading Aesop's Fables and the Epic of Gilgamesh and Beowulf and all these different things, like 6th graders are going to be reading this. I would have loved to have had this as a kid. I would have just died of happiness. And so I think that's just really impressive when you see that kind of content. So I'm really this is one of my favorite parts of the website.
Yeah, as a parent, it's fun too. I'm like, ooh, I want to read some of that. That looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool, though, that all that content is on here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who has that.
Yeah, here, like sample reading lists. So you're going to actually see the specific kinds of texts. And some parents might care more about this than other parents. Especially I know for like homeschooling parents, you're really creating or you're, finding the curriculum that you're going to be using and maybe adapting it for your own needs and what your child is really, interested in. And so you're going to be able to see what the reading list is and the content course goals. This is what they're going to be learning and doing in the course. Or if you have a child at a Catholic school or a public school, you're going to be able to see this. And I think it is a good comparison of what do I want my child to receive? What are they going to get at school A, school B, school C? What are the merits of each? What do I think is the best for my child? And this is going to be much more helpful in analyzing what that is. And then, seeing how this is an option for your children. So, we always want to be as helpful as possible so people know what we are and what we're doing and that they can then be empowered because they are the primary educators of their children. So like, this is what we're going to do for your child. Do you like this? Do you want this? Is this going to be effective for your child? We hope so. We think so. Come and see. Actually, now that you've kind of analyzed our website, come and see. Visit us, talk with us, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. I love it.
Carolyn,
Um,
you can go to the contact us page.
Contact us, yes.
Yeah. One small thing I liked about Hannah's design here is if you scroll to the bottom, the map is full width. And to me, it just like stood out as like it works as both a design element and it's informative. And I liked that it's just different than what I've seen on other websites.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy that being in there.
Yeah, I did too.
yeah.
Well, even this whole thing, you see how the white pops out. It stands out. You know, that's the call to action, that we want you to fill this page out and we want you to hit that button and, you know, get in touch with us. So I thought everything about this page, you have the informative side on the left here, you have the call to action really on here. And then where are we? Especially in this period of flux, we just moved. This is an interim site. We're going to be building a building in Fitchburg. And so I think it is really important to highlight where we are for parents.
Yeah, someone was asking me the other day, actually, are there any official updates on any of that?
I mean, it's still in the works. So, you know, if
Yeah.
someone wants to be in touch with us and make a gift.
Yeah.
The $7.5 million project. So that's
Okay.
what we're raising. We have almost half of that, which is a great start. And we have
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of people who are really excited. And it's just kind of the slow process, the work that you do. Sorry, I was trying to think, can I like scroll? Yeah, scroll out. So the process of just doing the work and talking with people and getting them engaged. And I think the website is a huge part of that you can reach out to a prospective benefactor who doesn't know as much about you, and you're going to share this with them. And a lot of it is building confidence in a benefactor, that this is, everyone loves to be a part of something successful. And so you see something like this and you think, oh, these people are going places. They know who they are. They know what they're doing. This looks really great. It's impressive. And you want to convey that to benefactors. So the new home of St. Ambrose Academy is basically like here, where the hand is, where the mouse is. So that's basically farmland right now. I mean, there's some housing. You know, Fitchburg kind of is progressing. It used to be like very much here, and now it's kind of moving south a bit. So the new site is going to be built basically like right there.
We also, we do have a campaign page on the website that gives a lot of good information about the project itself. And then it has a space on there to show how much they need to raise and how much they have raised. I don't know if it's been updated in the last month or so since the website went live, but it does have that nice feature. So for people who are interested, all of the information they're looking for is right there.
Yeah.
How does one get to that page?
So you go up to support. There are two ways. You go up to support building the future right here. That's the mega menu, that kind of extra feature right there. And the other way is from the homepage. So if you go to the homepage, you scroll all the way down. That's going to be where the campaign section lives.
That's super fun.
There you go. Yeah. So there's a little bit of animation that came up, this case for support book. I love it. It just like slides across from the left, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I click on it.
What's that?
I said, and then I click on it. Like it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like that's something that we give out. We print those and we give those to people. So it goes through who we are and what we're doing and what the purpose of this building is, what the scope of the building is, and why you should support. You're making a case for someone to want to support the campaign. So that's the booklet. It's hosted by Issue, and then you can just flip through and actually see it digitally, not just the physical paper copy of it. So I have our campaign video that Backflip did right before the pandemic shut everything down. So this was like end of February 2020, and then 2 weeks later, everything was shut down. So I was very glad that we got that.
Yeah, I got it in. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple campaign newsletters so people can kind of see where things are. We don't have a ton of photos yet. I mean, this is there's a field. It's a farm. It's former farmland. So that's where the school is going to be. As things go, we're going to get more photos. That's going to be great to kind of flesh this out a bit more. And then we have campaign supporters. So a really great way to acknowledge the people who have signed on super early and the levels that they're giving at, which is so important just to recognize the generosity of these people. So that's, a great way that we're able to acknowledge them. and then campaign leadership. So again, you're kind of building confidence in people that this is something that is thoughtfully done, that there is good people behind it, good intentionality, good ideas, and it's going to be successful. And so you're conveying that with the kinds of people that you're putting together on your team. And then you have a couple profiles at the bottom, which was really fun to work with. Sarah Dunn, who's our campaign co-chair, she's a vice president at CG Schmidt, which is the construction company that we're working with to build the building. Michael Bowden is a benefactor and an alumnus, one of the early alumni from the school. And then Dennis and Jeannie Breinig, who are benefactors, and just like so sweet, so supportive, so just like your ideal kind of benefactor. You know, they pray for you, they love you, they come to the musical and to events, and they are just like wonderful people. So it's really nice to kind of show some of the different kinds of people who support this organization.
That's awesome. I like too, you guys went with a more simple kind of footer menu, which is nice, because I think like sometimes you can be like, oh, just throw everything in there. And there is some functionality to that, but in this case, it's nice because there's only a couple items down there, and then if you need anything else, it's just up at top, which is kind of like a clear usability thing.
Hannah had a strong opinion about that. Hannah could talk about that.
I don't remember what my opinion was, but I think sometimes simple is better when it comes to that. And because the navigation is sticky, that information is always going to be there and easy to find. And so it doesn't make sense to have the exact same information at the top and the bottom at the same time. So just having kind of those three primary call to actions, a few social media icons, and then the ever important contact information.
Yeah, the sticky header was the thing that I was referring to. Like you were very supportive of that idea, and I was too, and even other people on my.
I was too.
Yeah, like just don't worry. We got your opinion.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Emily's suspiciously quiet. Maybe she wasn't a fan. She was like bulldozed over.
She's honest, yeah.
I also like that the header has the search ability. So like sometimes you use the footer for alternative words or different key phrases that people might be searching for. But because you can search, even if the mega menu is overwhelming and it's not in the footer, you have a tool to get exactly where you want to go.
Dragging a bit. So I just typed sports, like search result for sports, to see kind of like what came up. So they can see. Yeah, the sticky menu was great because Hannah was mentioning how she was annoyed when going a website and they just scroll all the way back up to find the thing. And I agree. I think it's very not user friendly. And I was a big fan of keeping this very simple too. And so we really echoed like, what are the calls to action? We're making this really action oriented. And these are the most important things. If it's a prospective benefactor or a prospective family, you want them to be able to schedule a visit. That's probably a huge portion of our traffic is prospective families applying to the school. And then for benefactors, if they're coming onto a website and they think, oh, you know what? I want to give a gift to St. Ambrose. I want to give them $100 or $5,000. 5,000 would be great too. I meant 500, but whatever the amount is, you
500,000.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Do it. You want them to be able to find it quickly because it's, maybe the middle of their lunch hour and they think, ooh, I want to do this. I want to get this done right now. If it's hard for them to find it, you all know this, I'm preaching to the choir. If it's too hard, they're going to have to abandon the search. It's just not going to be worth the effort. And then maybe they remember to come back to it. Maybe they don't remember. So we have it really prominently up here in the corner. That was a good example of like descriptive versus prescriptive. That what do we want? We want our donate button to be prominent so that people can find it quickly, get to it, get in, donate, go back on with their day. And then our family portal is also here too, so that for the families, they can, it's funny, I do have it saved, that the families, because again, they're going to be going here regularly. We want to make it really, really easy for them to find it. So on mobile, it actually is sticky at the bottom, which I think was a really clever thing. I must not have updated the password. I don't know if I can remember it, and I don't want to show it on my screen.
That's fine.
But so like having the stickiness of the family portal at the bottom for the mobile, I think was really great for the user friendliness for our families.
Awesome. It is 4:22, but I did want to get a little bit something left. We do have Amanda jumped in. just wanted to share. I think all of you guys are brilliant, but thanks for sharing that, Amanda. It's so cool because Hannah can come up with these crazy designs, but then Emily can actually implement them, which is, like the tag team duo, Cagney and Lacey. I don't know. Let's come up with a good tag team that's not like criminals.
Yeah, they're usually criminals, like all the ones.
Batman and Batman, right? Or Batwoman and Batwoman. But yeah, thanks for that, Amanda. Let's see. I'm vamping as I'm clicking around because you know what time it is.
It's Hills in the Lie.
I've got to shorten the end of that so that it just ends, so that we don't wait. So let's see. It is 4:23. If Hannah and Emily, if you guys have them, I don't think we've done you guys in a while, so we could do you. We'll skip me, but then we could do Carolyn as well. So I think I can always vamp and say what we have coming up, so you guys can think. I don't know if you guys prepped at all. No prepping. Good. Did you prep, Carolyn? You knew it was coming.
You know what, though? I didn't, because sometimes, like, we didn't get to it last time because we were talking so long about it. We played our game, and the game was longer than we'd imagined.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I did actually thought about I was driving back to the east side today. So, I thought of a good one earlier today, and I lost it. It was like something I'd never mentioned before, and I don't think you know either, because that's really the challenge, is what do you not know? Yeah,
for those who don't know, Carolyn and I have known each other since like 2003 or 4. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So longer than people have been alive. Oh, no! Hannah! You're in an earthquake! What's happening?
So sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My arm has finally given out from holding my phone for the last hour and a half.
Oh, I do. Hey, hang on. Let me run over there. Carolyn's thinking, so one of you vamp. I've got something for you.
Hey, well, if anyone wants to come who's watching this Sunday, 2 p.m., Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Monona. We're having a Mass with Father Michael Wanta. So that was what I was referring to at the website at one point. On the homepage, we have this wonderful alumnus. He graduated in 2013. He was ordained a priest this summer. He's going to be celebrating the Mass. Anyone in the community is welcome. And I mean like broad sense community, like anyone who wants to come is welcome to come. We're going to have a great reception afterwards. So by the playground behind IHM is going to be, we got chocolate chip ice cream truck. We have Carbon 4 donating beer and seltzer, which is amazing. We're going to have some snacks and a couple other, non-alcoholic drinks as well. Kids can play in the playground. We have a face painter. So we have a lot of really great things. Just like a simple event, something really nice, fun, family-friendly way to just celebrate this great guy who was ordained a priest and is going to be such an asset to the community. So that's something people can do. Other than that, I'm not really sure. Hey, look, he's back.
Nice. Well, I got to re-add her. Hang on.
For like the 10th time.
The problems today are just endless.
So you ended up vamping. Do you have your stories, or do you need somebody else to vamp so you can tell your story?
I need someone else to, yeah.
Okay. So next week, this will be fun. We've got Father Tate coming on. What is it? Is it Schroeder? It's Schroeder, right? Schrader. I'm not looking at it, so I don't know how it's spelled. We got Father Tate Schrader coming on next week.
Do I get to come too?
Inquisitioner. Actually, that could be kind of fun. Yeah. Inquisitioner of the Catholic Church. I think that's his unofficial title.
I mean, the reason you know him is because of me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So maybe Carolyn's coming on next week too. And then we'll see if John doesn't come on, then we got to have like a heart to heart and be like, John, why do you hate Carolyn? I don't understand.
Or maybe I'm just slowly pushing John out.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you created a game. He's never created a game.
I created a game for the happy hour. That is like host duties right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to stop interacting with me because you're supposed to be thinking of your stories.
Does Emily have one?
Or 3?
I got I have 3 of them.
I think
All
I
right.
like it.
Yeah, let's let Emily go first.
Well, I'm not a great storyteller, so I'm going to go with facts. So here are my facts. I'm allergic to bananas. I worked out yesterday, and my favorite color is purple.
I know the answer to this one.
Wait, what was the first one?
I'm allergic to bananas.
I feel like she could be allergic to something else. Like it could be kiwi.
Like Australian people?
New Zealanders, but close.
Sorry, New Zealander, yeah. Yeah. If you're at home, you got to guess too.
You just offended a whole nation of people, but you know.
I know what it is though, so I want your guys' guesses first. At least if I don't know, I will be very confused.
I also think I know what it is.
So is me. I mean, I think it could be bananas. Like that seems like a logical thing you could be allergic to. I mean, you could be allergic to anything. So, but I don't really know your preferences for colors. Maybe you really like Prince. You're in Minnesota. You know, maybe that's why.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She really got into Prince and the Vikings.
Yeah. Emily just went like all in on the Minnesota aspect of things. Mm-hmm.
So what's the lie?
Yeah, I'm gonna say banana.
Banana. All right. What do you got, Hannah?
Hang on. I just want to say that the only reason I know that is because Emily and I shared an office for a while she was here. And I don't know how long it was, but it had to have been at least a few months before I found out she was allergic to nuts. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And she's like, yeah, I have an EpiPen that I carry in my purse. I'm like, well, thank you for telling me because that's pretty critical if something happened and I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I knew that one. And thankfully, she's never had an allergic reaction, at least while she's been here. So.
Mm-hmm. So which one was your guess then?
The banana.
Banana. All right. Yeah. And we actually were in Minneapolis this morning and we got breakfast and she got the banana French toast. So I would be very confused if you were allergic to it. So I also am going to say banana.
Well, it turns out my favorite color is actually a lie. My favorite color is blue, and I am allergic to bananas. Ryan, when you cook bananas, it gets rid of the pollen allergy.
No.
That was good. You are sneaky. She knew that I knew that she had bananas this morning.
And I have a more important allergy that usually takes precedent over the banana.
Yeah. It was probably around the same time. Yeah, you told Hannah about it. You told the rest of us. But we don't have like almond fights or we don't have, peanut fights. So
yeah,
usually fine. Well, that was good. You got us. What's up?
Okay. So mine are probably pretty simple, straightforward facts too. So I have been to Japan twice. I am ambidextrous and I have an obsession with Post-it notes.
Ambidextrous, been to Japan twice, and have an obsession with Post-it notes.
I mean, the Post-it notes I can see. I feel like she's very organized. Also, the creative aspect, like
right,
you can move ideas around and adjust. I don't know if I've ever seen Hannah write with both hands.
Yeah,
but I'm sure there's a dominant hand anyway, so you probably would use one primarily, regardless.
Or it's like I play baseball with my other hand.
Like Ted Lasso, where he's shooting the darts. It's like, oh, that's right. I'm left.
Yes, that's hilarious. That's like the first episode, right?
No, it's like a little ways in.
Okay, I'm way off. Okay, what are our guesses here? John says you're amphibious.
Maybe that too.
Yep.
You're masquerading as a mammal.
Yes.
All right, who's guessing? Let's go Emily first.
Yeah, I can guess. I feel like you've been to Japan once. I don't know if you've been twice. I don't even know which hand you write with.
For shame.
I'm gonna guess Japan is the lie and that you are in fact ambidextrous.
I know. I thought about that too with the Japan thing, like once or twice. That could be a difference there. I'm going to say you're not. I was amphibious, ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous. Let's see. Emily, you said Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and then Carolyn, you said amphibious
Amphibious. Mm-hmm.
or ambidextrous, and
Same diff.
I'll say the third one, which I'm missing right now. What was the third one? Post-it notes. Oh no, that's you totally have lots of post-it notes, so I don't want that one. Yeah, those are tough. I will say Japan twice.
Okay, so the lie is that I am not ambidextrous. I am very much so obsessed with Post-it notes. I have like 8 different colored stacks on my desk right now. I have them all over my monitor and my laptop. I love them. I have been to Japan twice. Once when I was really young. Both of my parents went as chaperones for my older brother when he went on a student trip. And so
nice.
They had to take me along. And then I went once as an exchange student myself. And the only time I've ever had to learn how to write with my left hand was when I broke my right wrist and had surgery on it. So for like 8 weeks, I was sitting there trying to actually use a computer with only my left hand and, sign my name on multiple medical forms with my left hand.
Writing like a man.
Yes, exactly.
A doctor.
That talent never came to fruition and probably never will.
Not with an attitude like that, it won't.
Yeah,
right. All right. Carolyn, are you ready yet? There's been a lot.
Okay. 2 truths and a lie.
All right.
I have been, in honor of Father Tate, our future guest on next week's show. I have been to Rome 9 times. I once in Rome went to a concert with my friend Pedro. We happened to be in town and there was a big concert at the Coliseum, and it was Billy Joel and Bryan Adams. And while we were walking to get down to the stage, we actually were able to randomly run into Billy Joel, and we were able to meet him and say hi really briefly. And then my third is when I was probably 10, 12, something like that. My brothers we all like baseball, and they really got a lot of autographs from the Brewers because we live close to County Stadium. And Brian had a big baseball card collection that was autographed, and he did something, don't know what, he might remember, I don't remember. He made me very mad, and I cut up some of his autographed baseball cards in retribution.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I missed the first one, Monica.
Rome. I've been to Rome 9 times.
Or Rome 9 times, yeah. And then the second one is you met Billy Joel.
In Rome.
Not Bryan Adams?
No.
Okay. And then the third one is you got really mad at your brother and cut it up.
He was the opener. Billy Joel was second.
And then you got really mad and you cut up Brian.
My brother, not Bryan Adams.
Yeah, Brian, your brother's baseball cards. Okay. Let's see. I haven't gone first. I feel like it'd be very cheap if you hadn't been to Rome 9 times and it was 8. That would be I'd be disappointed. So I'm going to say that's true. Let's see. Billy Joel. Did you meet Billy Joel? I feel like that'd be a significant story that I would know. I'm going to say Billy Joel. You probably went to the concert, but I don't think you met him. That's my guess. All right, Emily.
Also going to go with Billy Joel was the
Billy
line.
Joel.
I believe that the baseball cards actually happened.
I want to go with the Billy Joel one, but I'm going to go with you haven't been to Rome 9 times. It's either more or just maybe a little less. I know you've been there a lot, but that's the one I'm going with.
All right.
On October 6th, 2006, my friend Paige and I did go to Billy Joel and Bryan Adams at the Coliseum. We did not meet Billy Joel.
Yes.
It would have been so great if we had.
Oh my
That
gosh.
would've been
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, and I feel like I would have heard that then, you know?
Well, yeah, we ran into, so there's some guys on the train that I had taken down from Perugia, and they were like obnoxious English guys. And I didn't talk to them because I remember, because there's like a vibe you get from some people who are like, hey, you seem really fun and nice and normal. I'm going to like, there's like a code among travelers where you can just talk to each other and it's like fun and great.
Yeah.
And I remember, because obviously I could hear they were speaking English and they were, in fact, English men. And I was like, nah, you guys are kind of obnoxious. I'm just going to like mind my own business here, you know? And so then my friend and I, Pedro, we were walking and they were like, hey, you were on their train. I was like, yep. Hi. Like, why? Why are you talking to me? So we were talking to them. So we did run into people on the way to the concert, but they were less preferable than Billy.
Some English folk. Yeah, I don't know if you saw Lynn's chat from a couple of weeks ago. She was in Scotland with her husband, and I think her mom had come with. And her first day in Scotland, and she met the Queen of England, who happened to be passing by. Like
Weird.
Crazy. Yeah.
Weird.
So if you haven't yet, go back and check out that episode.
I didn't watch it.
Of the happy hour.
When I was doing the website, there was a period of time where I could not watch any of the happy hours. I was like so diligently working. I couldn't even have it on in the background listening to it. So I missed the whole series. I also was like this close to being John Cusack, and I'm like still sad about it. He went to the Holy Land with his dad in 2010, and I was in the Holy Land. And so I was like at the front of the pack, and I was just like moving through or whatever. And we're at the church in Bethlehem, like the church in the Nativity. And then the rest of the group is like really far behind. We're like, where are you guys? Like, we're waiting and whatever. They come up, they're like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess. We were just walking in there. And then we saw John Cusack and his dad. I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't normally get like, I don't really care much about celebrity, but I have always loved John Cusack. And in the kind of way that like, I would love to be like, hey, hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for like providing me this like source of entertainment and like escape during my childhood when I should not have been watching your movies, but I was. It would have been great just to like say hi in a non-weird way. And I remember looking at the doorway and the whole group was leaving and we were going to go on a bus and go somewhere. And I was like, decision point. Do I abandon the group and just get back myself? I should go back through that door and like randomly casually bump into John Cusack. I didn't. And I still regret it. So.
Well, hopefully you've learned your lesson. Yeah.
I know.
That seems like a thing you would do. I would expect you to definitely go back.
The practical side of me was like, I don't really want to get stuck in Jerusalem by myself right now.
That's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at about 4:40, so we're going to call that our show. Thanks so much, Carolyn, for coming on, and Emily and Hannah for co-hosting. Yay. I need a button for clapping. Like, that'd be great. Let's see. I've thrown up the website for people to look at if they want, ambroseacademy.org. Check it out. Anything else that we want to promote right now?
While you were helping Hannah, I already talked about the event this Sunday. So if people want to come to ISM, nice. 2 p.m. Sunday,
it's going to be rocking. Yeah.
Beer and ice cream. And if you're Catholic, Mass.
Yeah,
what's
even
not
better. Awesome. Like I said, we have Father Tate next week. And apparently Carolyn, she'll be on as well. She'll just find her way on. It'll be great.
I do have access to Restream.
I know, exactly. You have my account, so
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. You should just come in when I least expect it. You should come in like, if we have a shared friend, and just don't even say anything, just show up. That'd be amazing. I would love that so much. So that'll be next week. Check out other videos on Facebook and YouTube. You can see those past episodes, like Lynn's episode from several weeks ago. You can also subscribe to our podcast wherever podcasts are sold. You can go to Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify. We're on all the things. It's pretty awesome. And we got those coming out. So check those out. They're coming out weekly usually. And we're going to try to get a couple more coming out every week because we have like 50 in the backlog. It's amazing. Check that out. thanks for tuning in. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out with us. And thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.